And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday. Of course, you know, this is your girl Monique, and it is time for gratitude check. Now, I want to ask you a question. What if all the things that you've experienced in your lifetime, the closed doors, the waiting seasons, the redirection, what if it was all a setup for the promise? What is it that God has promised you? I don't know about you, but I want to ask the question, have you ever looked back at any point, any moment in your life and realize that sometimes the things that you saw as setbacks, as disappointments, as brokenness and hurt and shame, all of those difficulties that you've experienced, have you ever thought about it and just look back at your life and reflect and say, these were actually some setup moments? You know, like the closed doors that protected you, the waiting seasons that prepared you, the redirections that aligned you. Sometimes we only understand God's strategy after we walk through the season. Because guess what? In God's kingdom, God does not waste pain. He transforms it. And Esther's story is a perfect representation of how God positions us, right? So I look at my challenging seasons nowadays as repositioning. Yeah, those doors that were closed, those no's and those lengthy waiting seasons, those quiet silent seasons, that the truth is God is working behind the scenes, and I look at those seasons now as God repositioning me. Because if we look at Queen Esther, now Esther was an orphan. She was raised by Mordecai. She was living a quiet life when suddenly everything changes, and God is a God of suddenly. Let me tell you that He is a God of suddenly. So suddenly everything changed. She was taken to the palace, and she also went through a long season of preparation, season where she bathed in a milk and honey and all of those things. And then what happened? She actually became queen. But Esther didn't know why God had positioned her there, right? Until the moment came when her people were in danger. And this is what God does. So when He positions us and when He prepares us, we are a response to something that is happening. And in Esther's situation, her people were in danger, and she was a response to what was happening to her people. And that's what God does, right? And that's when Mordecai spoke the famous scripture in Esther 4 verse 14. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Everything Esther experienced before that moment was positioning. Everything that you are experiencing, or everything that you've experienced, it is for positioning. So the preparation, the waiting, the uncertainty, that is God aligning you for purpose, right? And many times the truth is, when we're walking through these difficult seasons, we assume something is going wrong. But what if something is actually going right? I mean, what if everything is actually going right? What if God is positioning you for something you cannot yet see? What if you experienced what you experienced was the exact step needed to place you where the promise could unfold? What if? Listen, God is very strategic, and I always say, in all of the madness that God does, there is a reason, right? He moves pieces we don't even know exist sometimes, right? And so I want to encourage you today, if you are listening to this episode, this gratitude check this morning, because I'm grateful today for the repositioning. I'm grateful for the waiting seasons, right? I'm grateful for the closed doors. I'm grateful for the uncertainty sometimes. I'm grateful for the redirection. So if you're in that space today where you find that you're experiencing a mixture of redirection and waiting season and unexpected changes, I want you to know that God has been positioning you, or he's repositioning you. Nothing you went through was random. Nothing was wasted. And your story is still unfolding. Remember, God is positioning you for his promise. Your past seasons, they were seasons of preparation. Nothing you experience is wasted in God's economy. Trust God's divine timing, and trust me, you will be ready for your next chapter. Your life is not random. It's not a series of random events. Your story is being written by the divine author. And sometimes the chapters that feels most confusing are the ones that leads to the most powerful moments in your life. Just like Esther, you may not understand today why certain things happened, but one day, I promise you, you will look back and realize that God was positioning you for such a time as this. God bless you. Just know that I love you. Do not despise your season. All right. Of course, I'm your girl, Monique. Check out my Beautiful Me Empowerment Ministry podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Audible. All right. You would be glad you did. Like, subscribe, share it with a friend. And remember, healing happens in layers. Your story is still being written. You just need to trust the author. I love you. God bless you. Have a great, great, great day in the Lord.